everyone, my name is Helen, and today I am going to do a first impressions wear test of the Pat McGrath Moonlit Seduction palette. I believe this is the Mothership 10. This will be my first time putting it on my eyes. I've already swatched it. I will put those up after I do this first look and come back at the end and give my first impressions. This isn't like a review or anything. I already did my base, if you could call it that. I used the Pat McGrath highlighter, the Sigma highlighter in Moonbeam. And then I also topped that with the Pat McGrath Labs and Bridgerton highlighter in Sublime Skin Fetish Incandescent Gold 002. I'm never sure with the Pat McGrath stuff what the name is. The lipstick I'm wearing is the Oden's Eye Lip Stain. I think this is the matte one in Perfect Plum. Alright, so we're going to get started. I hope this turns out well. If it doesn't, no one will see this. Anyway. Okay. So I'm going to start with this first shade that's called Extreme Nocturne, which is a very cool toned, like grayish, like gray-brown color. As far as the Pat McGrath eyeshadow formula, I don't mind it. Do I think it's worth the money? No. I do have 3 other palettes from Pat McGrath, but I paid like I think half for each of them. I got them all on really good sales, which is the only reason, again, that I even have them. But it's okay. Like, it's good for the price I paid for them, but I wouldn't pay more than that. Like, I wouldn't pay over like $100 for these palettes. I don't really think that they're that good. Now, the matte formula, one of the best matte formulas I've ever used, but each of these palettes has so few matte shades, and I prefer shimmers, so it's not, for me, that's not a very good investment. But I don't mind them. And getting one gifted to me is not the worst thing to ever happen. And when I say gifted, I mean gifted from, like, a friend, not like anything else. All right. Do a little under the eyes. I don't know why I always end up rubbing it on my eyeball, but I do. Alright, and there are several shimmer shades, and I think I'm just going to use a few of them. So in my experience, Pat McGrath shades work best with a brush, which is strange because most eyeshadows don't work well with a brush. I normally prefer to use my fingers. But this is the shade Skin Tense Glow. And I'm just going to put it as kind of a base here on the inner part of my eye. And then sweep it underneath it. I do like this, like how cool toned this palette is. And in comparison to the other 3 palettes I have, I think this might actually be the most cool toned Pat McGrath palette that I have, which is interesting because it has those two very pinky berry mattes in it. Then we're gonna go in with shade Astral Lilac Aura. I'm gonna put that over the one in the inner corner. Okay, that is pretty. I like that shade. And all the shimmers in this, for the most part, are like this very flaky feeling. Next we're gonna go in with, what is the name of this? VR Sextasy. And I am going to put it kind of on the outer portion of my eye. Kind of where we put that darker matte shade. All right, we're gonna do the other side. All right, awesome. And then I am going to use my finger in again with Astral Lilac Aura. Is that the name of it? That is such a long name for an eyeshadow shade. Like, the Pat McGrath eyeshadow shades names are always very interesting to me. And I'm just going to use my finger to kind of pat that over the leftover blank space on my lid. I'm going to do the same on the other side. All right. Let's kind of brush some of that away. I don't mind it. I will definitely sit with it and come back with my final thoughts. I'm going to put on some mascara, probably like do a little cleaning in the house, and then I have a few videos I'm going to film later, and I'll probably come back and update this when I do that. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today I have something a little more makeup themed oriented, and that is this. I received the Pat McGrath Moonlit Seduction, I think the Mothership 9, the Mothership 10 as a surprise gift, and it's not something I would have picked out myself. It is beautiful. I even still have the packaging, which is not my usual. But I got this and opened it to realize how similar it is to some other Mothership palettes that I have. So I kind of wanted to do a comparison video. The one it looks like the most to me is, of course, the Divine Rose, the Mothership 6. I think it's 5 or 6. And they do share a ton of similarities, especially with their matte shades and the rosy tones, the golds, everything. So I wanted to do some swatch comparisons to see if there truly are any dupes, to compare. All right, let's get started. So we're going to do this on this arm, and I'm going to do on top the one from the Moonlit Seduction and then one from the Divine Rose. First, I want to do the mattes. So this first matte is Rosewood Romantic from the Moonlit Seduction. And then we have Extreme Mahogany from the Divine Rose. This is Extreme Nocturne from Moonlit Seduction. And this is Veloria from the Divine Rose. And this last matte is Plum Cabaret from the Moonlit Seduction. And as you can see, they're very similar. There's 3 mattes from the Moonlit Seduction and 2 from the Divine Rose. And in all honesty, it surprises me that the ones from the Midnight Seduction are pinker in tone than the ones from the Divine Rose. Being as it's the rose palette, you would think that it would be pinker. But these 2 true pinks are from the Moonlit Seduction, and this kind of mauvey, dusty rose shade is the only pink ish matte, I would say, in the Divine Rose palette at all. Now, these 2 browns are very different. This one from the Divine Rose is very warm toned, of course. It is even called mahogany. And this is very cool toned grayish from the Moonlit Seduction. So I would say, as far as the mattes, there are next to no crossovers with these 2 palettes. All right, and then next we're going to do some of the more regular satin shimmers. Again, starting on top, this is Skin Tense Glow from the Moonlit Seduction. And this is Skin Shadow Nude from the Divine Rose. And with these 2, you can definitely see a difference. The Moonlit Seduction is very much a cool, icy champagne, while the Skin Shadow Nude from the Divine Rose is a more warm, light gold color. Then we have Bronze Devotion from the Moonlit Seduction palette, and Sable Bronze from the Divine Rose. And those 2 actually are very, very close. In all honesty, I don't see much of a difference other than maybe a darker base pigment to the one from the Divine Rose. Next, we have Platinum Dusk from the Moonlit Seduction. And then the final regular, I guess you would call it, shade from the Divine Rose palette, which is Lovelace. And as you can see with those 2, there are not a whole lot of comparisons that can be made. And then the last true velvet-ish. Velvet, satin. They're shimmers, but they're not like the Pat McGrath special formula. Is from the Divine Rose, and that is Rose Dusk. And as you can see, there are no comparisons to be made, except maybe with these two. All right, and then last we are going to do the 4 special shades from each palette. And in all honesty, with these, I don't know that there are a whole lot of crossover. And the shades in the Moonlit Seduction, I wouldn't even call to... I wouldn't say they are the same baked gelée formula that all of my other Pat McGrath palettes have in them, but we're going to go ahead and swatch those anyway. The first is Astral Lilac Aura, which is this very pretty, just super glittery white, and a shade that is similar in texture is the Astral Solstice. And both of them are a very glittery formula. But again, with the Moonlit Seduction, it's more of a white, icy tone. And the Divine Rose has more of a true golden champagne neutral undertone to it. Then we have Astral Gold Lust, which is still that same very flaky formula. And it is, as you can see, a true gold. And then we have Refined Gold 002, which is technically the Pat McGrath special-ish shade, but it is more, while I would consider the color to be the same golden yellow, this one is definitely a lot more glittery and flaky and textured, and this is very smooth. This is Blitz Venus from the Moonlit Seduction. And this is VR Rose Venus. And other than being pink, there is no comparison here. This is more of a cool toned pinky color. And this is a very special duochrome that is a dark pink base with an orange gold flip to it. And then the last shade from the Moonlit Seduction palette is VR Sextasy, which is, again, a very flaky, glittery formula. This has an orange-red base to it with kind of a blue flip. This was a very popular kind of duochrome for a long time. The formula on this, I would say, is unique than other colors I've used like it, though. And then Iridescent Pink 003 from the Divine Rose. And again, this doesn't have a ton of, like, glittery flakiness to it, but it is more of a duochrome with a very iridescent white base and a very bright pastel pink flip. So there we have those. Again, not a lot of comparisons can be made, which really surprises me because in the pan, these palettes look very, very similar. Again, this is the Moonlit Seduction. This is the Divine Rose. It does surprise me that while the Moonlit Seduction has a lot pinker tones to its matte shades, almost all of the shimmer shades are very cool toned and icy. Even this gold and this one are more neutral than warm leaning, even though they are golds. Whereas almost every shade in the Divine Rose palette leans warm in some way, including Astral Solstice and Iridescent Pink 002, which could be icier tones and are in this palette, but in comparison to shades from the Moonlit Seduction, they are not. So while I wouldn't consider these to be dupes of each other, I do think they're very similar and possibly too similar for someone like me who doesn't wear tones like this to have both in my collection. But since this one was a gift, I am going to use it. Now, I will say, just swatching it, these shades are not Pat McGrath's usual special shade, but I do prefer them to her special shades because all 4 of these are very super flaky and glittery and glitzy, and I think will give an even better effect to the eye than these 4 shades do. In all honesty, Astral Solstice is the only truly special shade in this whole palette, and I have contemplated giving this palette away many times, just because this is the only shade I like, and I have this shade in the Midnight Sun palette. Now, I do want to do some comparisons with a couple of my other Pat McGrath palettes. I have the Mothership 1, I think it's Sublime, and then the Mothership 7, Midnight Sun. So this is the, I think it's Sublime. It's the first Mothership palette in any case. And this is the other cool toned palette. I bought this because it was a cool toned palette. And as you can see, there's not a whole lot of things we could compare. Even this icy shade has a very strong blue flip to it. And most of these shades, truly, in comparison with the Moonlit Seduction, look very warm. Like, even the browns here, and these, all of the shimmer shades, in comparison, seem to pull rather warm. And I don't see any shades in this palette that could be a comparison of any kind for the ones in this palette. So we're going to move on to my last one, which is the Midnight Sun. And I don't think there will be any shades that would be true comparisons here either. Let's see. No, this palette's very warm leaning. This shade, Extreme Dusk, though, looks very close to Extreme Nocturne, except this is a smidge darker, I would say. But again, there are no comparisons to be made here either. All right, I hope you liked this video. If you do, like and subscribe. I will probably put me doing a look with this eyeshadow palette at the beginning of this, maybe. So if you're interested in that, it'll already be on here. But I hope you're having a good day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. All right, I am back. It's only been about an hour since I did this, but as you can see, it's quite glittery. I do enjoy the glitter. I do enjoy how cool toned it is. I really like the brown. The kind of brown-green duochrome has a really strong, nice flip to it. I'm not really sure why the one shade is called Astral Lilac something. It's just a very icy white. Like, it has no really flip to it, no other colors in it. I thought the matte shade I used blended okay. It was a little patchy, but it built up very smooth. It worked like Pat McGrath mattes tend to. The shades, as I kind of mentioned already in the swatch portion of this video, are very flaky and glittery. And it's only been an hour and I already have like some flaky glitters here underneath my eyes already. Again, not the worst thing, but something to keep in mind. I don't mind that, but I know some people do. But anyway, I like this palette so far. I would say if you have a ton of Pat McGrath palettes, especially if you have any of like the really pink ones, like either of the rose ones or the Utopian Dream, I wouldn't say you need this one. It's just more cooler toned, but it's still very rosy toned as a whole. This look is very cool toned, but I think this is a look you could get with the Mothership 1 palette or with a few of the others that have more icy blue flipped shades in them. I do like it. I wouldn't have spent my own money for it. I still don't think the formula is worth $130 at all. This makeup does not put itself on my face, and so I would never be able to justify the money. Would I buy it myself? No. Will I use it since I have it? Probably, which surprises me, but I think I actually might like it more than the Divine Rose. So I guess I'll wait and see if it kind of beats it out as the rosy toned neutral palette in my collection. We'll wait and see. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.